Hey, I'm Ryan. This is my brother Daniel. This is Rolls in the Family. And today we are back with a video that we do usually twice a year where we talk about games.
Then we'll do it more often.
I guess. Oh, do it more often.
Yeah.
This is the games that are leaving our collection or have left our collection in the last 6 months.
Yes.
And I this morning, I've had a lot of things kind of go wrong this morning.
I know. It fits the theme of the video.
Tons of ants in the kitchen. Had to get this project done and had issues. Had a bunch of tech issues getting set up here. I feel like it just got me in the frame of mind to be angry.
Ryan's just going to be yelling
about
this whole video.
Games. Except I actually look at my short list of games and I actually like all these games. So, and that is something
I actually do too.
Something with us getting rid of games is we often get rid of games that we actually like quite a bit because we're pretty picky about keeping our collection trimmed down
or we
to
have
our
bad
favorites
judgment.
and ones, or we have bad judgment, yes, and regret it and buy them for way more later when we realize we want
may
them.
or may not have happened before.
It happens. But hopefully you find it interesting to hear kind of why these games maybe didn't work quite as well for us, why we feel that maybe they don't have a spot in our collection. We'll have links to all of them down below. You could let us know what games maybe you've gotten rid of recently. Honestly, sometimes that can be more helpful than a recommendation in kind of learning about if a game might be right.
Yeah, for sure.
For you, we have a pretty short batch or small batch here. I think Daniel's just got a couple, and I've got 4 here.
I know,
but
I was combing through my games with like I really was trying to add to this list, Ryan. But I guess
maybe we have to set a bar, and it's like we have to get rid of that many games.
Oh my gosh,
like, no matter what.
It's just like React Ryan Agricola. Watch
required.
out.
And we're actually going to count these off in ascending ratings. We're going to be giving our ratings for these games and kind of getting to higher ratings as we go. But it looks like I have the lowest.
Yeah, Ryan. Why don't you kick us off?
I don't often start.
You don't like handing it off to yourself?
Yeah, you always throw it to you.
I know. Now you have to actually start things off here.
My first one I'm getting rid of is one that you actually have, and I think have not decided if you want to get rid of yet. And it's one that I've enjoyed. I've had a good time with it. It is a party game. I get a lot of party games, like trying a bunch of party games.
So
it isn't uncommon for certain party games to end up leaving because they don't quite, earn a spot. But this is one that had some good fun sessions with. I feel like it's a little hard to get to the table. And there's definitely people in my life that really don't like it. This is Poetry for Neanderthals. And this kind of takes the type of party game where you're trying to get your teammates to guess answers, but it forces you to talk like a caveman. So you can only use 1-syllable words, which sounds very funny when you're listening to someone do it. It is very challenging to do.
It's hard,
and
man.
do well to try to do it. And so it actually does come together really nicely. And there's the person next to you with the inflatable nose stick that gets to hit someone on the head. But I'm actually giving this one a 6.5 out of 10, which is like just below like good for me.
Good. Someone called bad.
Just below good. 7 is like, and it, like I said, I think I enjoyed my plays of it. There wasn't like any wow factor that I get from, if you go watch our top party games video, those are some games that really land for me in that genre.
Right.
But you pair that with the fact that I already have people, that I would play party games with that don't love the something like Time's Up. That's the pressure of getting someone to guess and everybody's kind of watching you.
Yeah.
This is like that, but worse because it's like, oh, not only are you doing that, but you're also going to kind of like look and sound dumb and like you could like make a mistake and get hit in the head. And like, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Like with the right group, this could go great.
Yeah.
And it's honestly pretty quick the way it takes like 15 minutes to play a game of this. But I just didn't see it getting to the table like something that was going to get to the table consistently. And I think there's a little bit of the novelty factor wearing off. Like even for me, it's like I've played it a few times. It's not quite as funny as it was the first time.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's one I honestly would even go as far to say I recommend it to the certain group. Like there's certain people I think this would still be a really good game for. But I got a lot of party games and only so much shelf space.
Yeah, it is. It's still in our collection. It will be interesting to see kind of long term. I agree with you. It is so group dependent. I mean, like one group, this might be their favorite party game, and another group, this is like their worst nightmare. I mean, this really, you got to know your group, and they got to be okay with looking, being humiliated, kind of, like looking ridiculous, everyone laughing at you, messing up and getting hit on the head with a bat. Like, to a lot of people, that is like not a fun experience.
Yeah, it's like you invented a game that is literally my worst nightmare materialized.
But I will say recently, or I don't know, recently, it's been a little while, I guess, since I've played it, but the last couple times I've played it, have seen some of those moments of when you do get good at it and you get in that rhythm. It is really funny to listen to this, because it does evoke a very Neanderthal way of talking. And I like that the better you are at it, the funnier it is. And so
it's true.
That was something that I think, talking with my wife before this video, we were still like, we're still gonna, we've had a couple good experiences. We're still gonna kind of give that one a shot, but totally, it is probably the most group dependent party game that I've played.
Yeah, which I think is part of what makes it so hard, because with a party game, a lot of times I want party games to play with groups that maybe I don't know everybody in it. And so it's like, well, I'm not gonna unload poetry for Neanderthals. Like, there's a chance I'm gonna be like making somebody absolutely hate their lives.
Have you guys ever played modern board games? Check this out.
Here's my favorite. But if I'm not gonna be playing in that context, well, then I need it to be being played in like my core group, which would be like our family and stuff. And that's where there's enough people in that group that
also
don't like it, that it's like, okay, this is like never going to get played.
That's fair.
And I'm not so crazy about it that I'm going to keep endorsing it. So
yeah. Very nice.
Goodbye, Poetry for Neanderthals.
Poetry for Neanderthals. Okay, moving on to, I've got the next one here on my number.
Yeah, kind of a darling of the board game world, I would say.
Darling.
So this was a hot one when it came out.
Yeah,
it was a really hot game when it first came out.
Yeah, I mean, this one's done incredibly well. This is a game that is super popular. I don't know, kind of, it's not quite as, mainstream maybe as like a Ticket to Ride or anything like that. But I would say it is one of those games that has just blown up in success, and I think honestly for good reason. It's a really good game. But this is going to go to Azul. So I'm going to be giving Azul a 7 out of 10. Azul is honestly, like, all the mechanics and stuff I think are really good. I actually just played a game of Azul on Board Game Arena the other day. And kind of Azul for me, because it's a game where I think the most interesting part about it is the whole, you've got all the different places that you're picking these tiles from, and you're taking all of the same type from one location. And so the whole kind of like maximizing, grabbing where tiles are from part is kind of interesting. For me, every time I played Azul, this, like, my feelings afterwards was like, that's a good game. And but no part of it was like, oh wow. Like, there was no part of the game that really just grabbed me. Like, this is such an interesting decision. Now, I always put the caveat, maybe I'm just bad at it. So maybe the interesting decisions is maybe people who are better at it, find more of that. But just for me, for some reason, that, I don't know, it just always felt like, okay, yeah, grab these tiles, place them here, kind of, okay, they move. Like, I don't know, just nothing in it really grabbed me, and it led to me almost never playing it. I mean, and that's really kind of that's the reason the game leaves the collection. I was never going to pick it if we had, 3 or 4 players. Like, I've got 10, There's 15 so games that I would rather play. And so then it's like, okay, well, maybe 2-player. And still, even at 2-player, there are games that my wife and I enjoy playing. It can get more.
Azul 2-player can be kind of cutthroat.
Well, I will say that is kind of the other hard part about it is it's, I think it kind of presents itself as maybe a little bit of a gateway game.
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
But there is an element of, especially good players, I'm sure know this, of setting things up so a person gets dumped with all of these tiles, that tons of negatives and stuff like that. And so I always have a hard time with a gateway game having an element that can make someone feel awful. And I think Azul definitely
and
does
not
that.
only just awful, but awful and like I caused it to happen. I like strategically made it happen to you.
No, for sure. So that was kind of the reasons. When you realize, you start to ask yourself, man, why is this game's never getting chosen? Not because it's a bad game, but just for us, it didn't really do anything crazy that intrigued us. So that's why Azul is going to be coming in at a 7 and exiting.
It had a nice stay in the collection.
It did. It was here for a while. Yeah.
And I often say that even with games to get rid of, I don't usually regret that I had them. A lot of times it's like, it was fun to get to try it. It's not an evergreen forever game, but
new video idea. Biggest regret in
life. Just like, this is not board game content, but we wanted to.
Right.
Alrighty, we're heading up to some 7.5s here.
Yeah, wow.
So getting some better ratings. This is one that is a very, very hot game. I would say a very successful franchise, that especially as they've continued to license and add expansion content to it with some very popular IPs. Cough Cough Marvel. It's pretty popular.
I've heard of it.
But this is a head-to-head 2-player game by Restoration Games, a reimagining of, I think it was originally Star Wars Epic Duels was the old game that they brought back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And breathed new life. Because that's Restoration Games' whole shtick, is they take old designs and, modernize them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Unmatched. So Unmatched is a kind of 1v1 dueling system where you each pick a character, you each have a deck, and you're on this map, and you're fighting to the death, essentially. And there are some other modes, like you can play versus a 2v2. I've only ever played it one-on-one.
Yeah.
I specifically had the Cobble and Fog set, which I thought was great. It has like Sherlock Holmes, Bloody Mary, Jekyll and Hyde. I'm forgetting who the fourth one is, but good set, good maps. And then I ended up getting the Battle of Legends Volume 2, which was kind of highly recommended and had some cool other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it is cool. It's a cool design how they, within this deck of cards, really give each one a unique feel. Mm-hmm. Some of them even have like a sidekick character or can bring out other tokens that you can manipulate. And it's got kind of this cool thing with the map that the spaces are colored, and some of them have multiple colors. And that's how you determine like if you can hit with range, is if you're in the same color. So they can kind of like set up the maps in very clever ways of where, like, ooh, I'm up on this bridge, but I can actually hit down because they've set it up that way. So it makes the maps feel, unique, and I liked that. Honestly, I this was a hard one for me to decide on, because I also don't have that many
I liked this
games in this genre. But I think one of the things I'm not as big on, and I'm learning about myself, is kind of bluffing rock, paper, scissors type of combat. And this game definitely has a lot of like, oh, I know he's gonna could attack me here. Do I play a big defensive card? But then if he doesn't, I wasted my defense card.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of that, just like mind games. And some people are going to love that.
Yeah.
I'm finding more and more I'm like okay on it, but it doesn't really like grab me. I'm much more satisfied when I'm making decisions based on like the variables and this is what I should do than like, what do I think the person is going to do? But then you layer on top of that all these decks are unique and have a lot of like special abilities and stuff that if you don't know the other character, you can be very surprised by things of like, oh, well, I didn't know your character could do that. And that's something that would get a lot better if you replay the characters a lot.
You're just not playing it.
I think I was just finding, I wasn't playing it a lot now, and I just don't know that I was feeling super drawn to play it all. And it felt like the type of game that if this was going to stay in my collection, it would have to be one that I'd want to just play every matchup and want to get more fighters for, and I just wasn't feeling myself drawn to that. Kind of like you were saying with Azul, I find myself like I'd probably rather play some other 2-player games. And honestly, there's some games on my wish list that are maybe more in this 1v1 direct conflict that I'm interested in, that I at least think I might end up liking more than Unmatched. That maybe played a part in it. Like maybe this ends up kind of getting replaced down the line. We've talked about it before. I just don't play that many 2-player games right now, so it's a little hard to like justify getting a bunch of new ones.
Your son's almost there.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man. I'm putting in. If there's one person that's putting in all the work to prep their gaming partner. So yeah, it's good. I think I could tell the fact that I wasn't excited about looking at the expansion content when there's all this cool expansion content to add new characters. Yeah. If I really loved this game, that would be exciting. That's the type of stuff that normally gets me all excited. I love expansions, and especially for that type of game. So I just think I realized, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be wanting to keep pulling this off the shelf over and over again.
Hey, better to realize that early.
Yeah, I only got 2 sets in instead of maybe honestly, there is something to be said that when they push out so much content, there is this feeling of like if I'm gonna keep it and love it, I'm gonna I'm
gonna have to spend so much,
all of it, and I don't know that I want to get all of this stuff.
You know. It's like walking into a buffet, you know? It's like, it's too much. It's too much.
This video is Dango and I choosing to walk out of the buffet. Go get something more healthy.
Yeah, that's clearly what we
the metaphor
are doing
here. Yes.
Very nice. Yeah, honestly, I'm not surprised by it. Maybe a little sad, just in the sense of like, I did like that game. And you know, I'm not sure there's a world where I would ever own it. But I understand your argument there. So very nice. Okay, Ryan. We're gonna be coming in now over to me. With a game that no joke, 10 minutes before this video, I was still debating, do I want to
this locks it in stone.
I know
this is signing off on the dotted line.
Ryan, I might take it back. Now I might just leave. So this is a game that is also, I would say, pretty popular and generally well liked. Definitely not as popular as Azul, but
it's a really popular series.
Yes, that is correct. And this is I believe the only one I've played in that series or whatnot. But this is going to go to Architects of the West Kingdom. And I'm going to be giving this game a 7.5 out of 10. And man, even as I was reading through kind of the, you know, because sometimes you forget like the specific things of a game. And so kind of reading through the rules again and stuff, there's a lot I really like about this game. Like, and so I kind of, and a game that honestly I would not only play, but even I think some people really would love this game. I mean, obviously it's kind of a, you know, worker placement, but it's got a few just really interesting things that it does. One, this whole like if you place if you keep going to the same location, you're like getting more and more rewards, and so there's this incentive to like try to keep going back to the same place. But then that's counteracted with this whole you can go to a place to arrest people that are at, you know, you can like work for the government, I guess, to arrest people all at one location, and then you literally take their workers and put them on your board, and then you can like throw them into jail. And so there's this whole like the game's got a really like cyclical kind of thing to it of like placing workers getting arrested, being thrown into jail, you getting your workers from jail, and obviously I mean you have limited workers, and so it can be actually I find that part just really fascinating. I mean, that was the part that really drew me to the game, was this like worker placement, but very interactive in that you're literally like capturing other people's workers and all of that. And I still think that is a great system. I think it's really, really cool. I think just everything else was a little bland. Like it was like an awesome system, but then just placed on kind of fine things. Like you just, you know, you go to places and you take the resources and then the cards, I found they were very just underwhelming. Like none of them you're like, oh my gosh. Like they're all just kind of like, oh yeah. So I think it was like, man, this system is so awesome. And then, you know, you start playing a game and I think I had, you know, a couple plays. I remember one time we were on a vacation and kind of taught it to a new group, and I don't, maybe it was late. I don't know. It just really did not hit the way that I was hoping it would. And man, when you introduce a game that's a little bit heavier and like, man, there's a lot of games we could have played here. I mean, we had, I think, 5 people. I mean, this is like bring out your prime game, and it really did not hit. That leaves such a sour taste in your
mouth. Yeah, what's funny is while you were playing that game, I was leading a different game of Awkward Guess, which I also called.
Oh no, Ryan! We just butchered the moment.
No, I think we had a good time.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
I liked that game, but no. So it left me kind of disappointed afterwards, and then I think I also this is a thing we talk about a lot. Like, this game's prime player count is like, okay, do you have four people or something like that? Again, there are probably 10, 15 games I would choose before this for that player count, because that is the prime number of players. And so if you're going to be your best at that number of players, you got to be exceptional. You got to be up there with the Agricolas, the Feast for Odins, the
which
Great
those
Western
are all
Trails.
Those are all a little heavier.
They are a little heavier.
And that's
fair.
I've actually struggled a lot with finding games in this category.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Medium weight, because I think for us a lot of times they don't land quite as well because they just so pale in comparison to some of these heavier ones. But at the same time, it's like you kind of need games in that category. So I feel like it's a hard one to find ones that I'm like, yeah, this is one I want to play.
It's a good point.
Over and over and over again, but it also plays in 90 minutes and I could introduce it to people.
Right. And I want to say, and maybe we just played slow, but I don't think we played in 90. I think it went longer than 90 for us. And maybe that was,
you had 4 new players.
Yeah, right? Maybe that was, and so, that's how it is. And you're not going to play it 2-player, I don't think. I mean, that's just the type of game that it is, where so much of it is the like checks and balances of arresting and all that. I don't know. I think we tried it 2-player with my wife, and it was fine.
Well, and you guys have tons of 2-player games.
We do.
You already enjoy together.
So again, like a game that I honestly, even just thinking about it right now, I would want to play again, because I haven't played it a ton, and that and I get
expansions,
and I get excited about that whole placing and arresting and all that, but I just felt like they could have done a little bit more with that mechanic, maybe just some more interesting cards or stuff like that to really, really deliver a home run experience. So still a good game, 7.5, but apparently I'm committed now.
I think I had kind of similar feelings on that one. I've actually also played Raiders of the North Sea,
okay, nice.
Which I thought was all right, although people have said that the expansion to that one like really, really helps it. But it is funny because that whole line, I mean, there's a ton of them now. It's been Raiders of the North Sea, there's Architects of the West King. Paladins is one that out of the series I would probably be, because that one's I think a little bit heavier. But now they've done Scholars and Wayfarers and Viscounts, and like there's so many games in the series now, which honestly,
I don't think it helps.
For me, it like pushes me away from it a little bit, because I don't know, because they all kind of blend together a little bit, and they don't feel. I don't know.
We care so much about having like distinct gaming experiences that I almost think when you see like a whole series, it's kind of like,
and all the graphic design is like consistent, like the art style.
Some people might love that, collecting.
Yeah, well, and honestly, they probably have a lot of cases where people who have gotten a few of them feel compelled to get more of them because they look so nice on the shelf together.
It's true.
So they feel like the types of games that I would like jump at the opportunity to try. But it doesn't feel like there's a high chance that they would be like evergreen ones I'd want to own. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe I'll try Paladin sometime.
Yeah, that would be fun. Okay, Ryan, you're bringing us home here.
I'm bringing us home with some heavy hitters. These are some very popular ones that I am also rating highly, but deciding to get rid of. This next one was really, it again is one that you have and I don't think are planning on getting rid of.
At least no, I don't think so.
Yeah. And I enjoy this one. And I think the biggest thing is I don't feel that excitement to play it again and again and again and again for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Very, very popular game. This is Wingspan.
Wow.
So
drop your hate for Ryan down below, man.
Yeah, there's Wingspan. It's gotten popular enough that there's now a lot of people that are haters of Wingspan because it's so popular. So it's like maybe I'll find my friends in the comments. But no, I think Wingspan's great, and I rate it an 8 out of 10, and I have a great time with it. I have the base game, I have the European first expansion, and there was a little bit of like, oh, but what if I get the Oceania expansion?
No, you need
you
need the nesting box, Ryan. That's what you need.
Yeah, so just the nesting box.
that'll complete it.
But very fun game, kind of in that genre of there's a big stack of unique cards. You get cards, and which are the ones I want to use? I want to get them out. It's engine building of you're building up these rows that execute when you take those actions. I love the bird theme and the watercolors. Like, it's very fresh, and the presentation is all excellent. As I'm talking about it, it's like I would love to sit down and play Wingspan.
No, you can't. No takebacks,
but
Ryan.
I think it's in a genre of that style of it probably falls a little bit into the Architects of the West Kingdom as far as the this kind of medium weight. But that type of like card game where it's based on a lot of the cards in the engine building, I want to have this feeling that like I want to play this game 200 times. Like, just like I want to feel compelled to.
Yeah.
And we've seen it with Race for the Galaxy. We still love Race for the Galaxy over 300 plays later. A heavier thing like Terraforming Mars. I think we both feel like, yeah, I'll play I could play Terraforming Mars like every day and I'd be happy. Honestly, I like Res Arcana is another one that I enjoy a little bit more than Wingspan with the kind of card drafting and resource management, but it's kind of maybe in a similar space. And so I think for whatever reason, Wingspan wasn't giving me that feeling of just really wanting to play it again and again. I don't know if some of it is like, I wish I could use my engine more than you'd get to over the course of the game. I don't know. Yeah. Honestly, it may have played a little bit of part of it of playing Earth with you. I don't know if I'm going to get Earth, but I came away from it being like, I might like this more than Wingspan. And so, if anything, like maybe Earth is the one that needs to enter the collection and see if it can have some staying power. Right. But yeah, I know it's a popular one. I know there's a lot of people that this is, and we've talked about it's an excellent game for introducing people who are maybe interested in a little bit more in a game. Though I have found for me in practice that I haven't seen that situation really coming up. Like, usually if I have a group with new people that I think Wingspan would go well with, then it actually has also opened it up to quite a few other games that I think they would go well with. Because if I'm like, yeah, they're okay with the getting lots of cards and understanding card effects and stuff, like they've reached a certain level in my mind of what games they might, be okay with. So I think even in that instance, I wouldn't necessarily be grabbing for Wingspan.
Yeah. So I don't know. I agree with you in that it's so the reason it's still my, because I actually agree with you that like I probably enjoy the mechanics of it. It sounds like maybe a little bit more than you. I do agree that maybe the engine isn't as satisfying as other game, like Terraforming Mars. I mean, you play all these cards and the engine is immensely satisfying and you get to really play it out. I think the thing that maybe I differ is that the reason I think it is an excellent first kind of step up into heavier games, and the reason I think that is, yes, there's other games that have all the cards and stuff like that, but for me, it's the simplicity of the actions, like the fact that it's I love when games just have like, hey, there's these 4 things, like you just one of these. It's just, I don't know. I find when teaching it, I'm able to actually teach it fairly quickly because you just walk through those and they're able to then kind of grasp all the other stuff coming with it just because it's all centered around those 4 actions. And I've just personally had, people here that I've kind of introduced it to people and it's gone over well there. And I have, friends that enjoy heavier games and also enjoy Wingspan. And so there's part of that as well of maybe just it, I've got groups that want to play Wingspan, and so it's fun to play Wingspan and whatnot. But for me, it's I very much see it as a probably in my collection kind of my go-to. They're not someone who's not like ready for like a Terraforming Mars or something like that, but maybe they've played some base stuff and are wanting to kind of take a step up, and Wingspan's been the one that I've been going to for that. So, but I can understand that.
I think it's a good choice for that. And honestly, out of all of my games on my list here, this is the closest. This one is like right there, and so it is a hard decision. But going with my gut a little bit.
Yeah. Last thing, actually, I'll say why I love it for that is also just the visual appeal. I find people are so just. This looks beautiful. The birds, like all that. It's got a fantastic theme that I think also draws people in. But not saying your decision's bad or anything like that. But actually,
we gotta have some disagreement on the channel.
Yeah, so, wow. People, God, I don't like
people
this.
People love that kind of.
I don't like this tension. Stuff. Let me know down the let us know down in the comments below. Who do you agree with here? Who's right about Wingspan? Okay.
What's funny is like I think we are really actually very close.
No, we are
in our feelings on Wingspan. It's just like this razor.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, so my last one is a little bit of a different type of. There's different reasons why games leave the collection.
You must hate this game.
Yeah, no, because this is a game I rate a 9.
Oh my god!
Which usually a game rated a 9 is a lock. Like that's in the collection,
or it's a legacy game.
So in this instance, the only reason this game is leaving the collection is because there's a new iteration in this game system that I got and decided that I think I like it marginally more. Like we're talking, I might even rate them both 9s, or maybe it's enough to go to a 9.5. But if I'm going to keep one, the other one is the one I think I would like to keep. So the one that is leaving the collection is Gaia Project. Ooh. And we kind of have a bit of a history with this system.
Positive
we originally got
Terra
Mystica, a history what with each other?
Well, you said we have a history with this one. I thought you were going to say like we've like fought each other over this or something.
Yes. No, not us personally.
Okay.
Between each other.
I see.
But we this goes back to we originally had the first Terra Mystica. Really enjoyed it. Played it probably 15 sometimes, which is a bigger strategy game. Gaia Project came out and it was like, ooh, this layers on a lot of what I love in variability, because that was maybe something that was missing a little bit from Terra Mystica. And so ended up getting Gaia Project, and I did like Gaia Project a little bit more than Terra Mystica. Really enjoyed it. Really heavy brain burner of a game though, especially with you get that variable set up on that tech track, and it's like,
oh my gosh,
try to take in what you should be considering. It's definitely a lot to think about. The new version now, they're not like replacements. Like all these games are independently supported, still being played a lot. It's kind of just like variations on the same theme. And this is Age of Innovation. And this kind of goes back to the Terra Mystica roots. Like if you look at the board, it looks like Terra Mystica. It honestly plays like Terra Mystica. But it's like they took the ideas of variability injected into Gaia Project and like put it into Terra Mystica. And so, instead of the faction boards being just, this is your faction that gives you, these starting resources, this ability, and this, faction or whatever, those are all now decoupled to where you can mix and match any of them. So in any given game, you're matching up an ability with a board so you're getting like these so many permutations of what the abilities could be. The like strongholds that you build that used to be faction specific. Now there's like a whole bunch of them that go out, and if you're the first one to build your stronghold, you get to like pick which one you want to build. So like you could get a different stronghold ability with a faction where those are no longer connected. And there's all this new stuff with the getting books and doing these innovations that give you unique things. And like, so it speaks to me in what I love in that type of game, while keeping the strong bones of the system that we've come to love over all our plays between Terra Mystica and Gaia Project. So it's one of those things. It's like Gaia Project is leaving. I love Gaia Project. I think it's an excellent game.
Yeah.
I just think Age of Innovation is a little bit better for me.
Which is saying a lot because, I mean, Gaia Project, we have had a ton of fun with.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like a top 10 game of all time for me.
Yeah, so.
Which means that Age of Innovation is probably going to kind of carry on the torch.
You would hope so.
There are also some little things like Gaia Project had this whole extra Gaia Project mechanism of it had this new phase that you could turn these transdim planets into a Gaia planet by doing a Gaia Project. And it was a little bit more kind of rules overhead compared to Terra Mystica. Like it was a little bit more. I think while Age of Innovation has this new books and innovations thing, it's a little bit simpler and more intuitive than the whole Gaia Project thing. So I do feel like it's maybe a little bit easier teach. It also brings back the thing in Terra Mystica of the Gaia Project had it too of the like round bonuses. Like if you build things in this round, you get points for it. But in Terra Mystica, it also has the thing that's like, and for every 2 blues you're up on the blue track, you're going to get a worker or something. And so it's kind of like this scaling reward. And that was something that wasn't in Gaia Project. Like the rounds just had, and coming back to it, I was like, I actually like that. It's very cool to kind of try to set yourself up to get this nice boost.
So does this have the like the cult tracks or whatever, kind of like Terra Mystica does?
It does, but it brings a little bit of how Gaia Project had some more with it. So they're now, I forget what they call it because it's like the different disciplines of science or whatever and medicine. There's now a thing that you need to have, and I'm trying to remember back to how Terra Mystica was too, but they now have some productions higher on the track that like if you get up there, you start getting that production, which was definitely a thing in Gaia Project. I don't think that was in the original Terra Mystica. So there's a little bit more there, but it's also, so in Terra Mystica, there was those bonus tiles that whenever you built one of your, I never know what to call it, science, or I've had 3 different themes go through my head now, so I don't know what any of these things are called. But you get these bonus tiles that give you, in Terra Mystica, would give you some kind of ability or some scoring thing, but they would also have, like, you get to go up 1 on the blue track or 2 on the red track. But those were always the same. Like the red 2 always had the same ability. What's cool in Age of Innovation is you randomize it so that the powers are always assigned differently to the rewards. And now the rewards are a combination of going up on the track and getting books, which books are good for then getting innovations, as well as there's some book actions on the board, kind of like the power actions. So books are kind of this useful thing. So every game you're getting this unique thing of like, oh, this one will give me 1 on the track and 2 books to get this ability, but I really want this ability, but that only lets me go up on the track. Like, would I rather get books? And so I love that all of that is variable, like how those things line up. So I think it comes together just really, really well. It also goes to 5 players. I don't know how often. It'd be pretty crazy playing it with 5 players. Yeah. But Gaia Project did only go to 4. So it's nice to have the ability.
Well, I definitely have that one very much on my radar. I'm going to be seeing you, Ryan, in a few weeks. Is this one coming out?
It is coming out. It's a good one to bring.
So
it's probably the heaviest game.
People might get to hear our thoughts on it.
Yes. So I look at Gaia Project leaving. You know, as I'm giving it to the person I'm selling secondhand, it's like you're getting an amazing game. Like, this is a great game.
The biggest brain burner of games I've played.
It might be, and honestly, Age of Innovation isn't much different in that regard. They are pretty thinky.
Like, I gotta go lay down after playing a game of Gaia Project, man. It's
another interesting change, actually, that I think your wife was one that didn't love the change to Gaia Project, is the fact that it changed the resources to being on tracks. Which is really nice for having fewer components and changing it quickly, but it's not as helpful when you're trying to plan out 3 turns and you're like, okay, I need to spend this much for this and this much for this. Because if you have physical resources, you can group them and So it went back to now you have physical resources, and there is something to be said of like in this brain burny game,
able to say this is
being able to kind of move your pieces around and be
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to use this for this.
Yeah.
That leaves me with
That's a
this,
good
and not have
point.
to keep it in your head. I wonder if that played any factor when they were reimagining.
Yeah, I am very, very excited to try that one. So no love lost for Gaia Project. It was a great game, but better games come along.
Age of innovation, man. It's it'll be interesting to see where it lands for me.
For sure. Well, there you go, guys. That is our cold games.
So cold. It's cold in here.
It's so cold. My wife doesn't even know what that word means. That is our cold games of January through June 2024.
Hey, thanks for sticking around. If you enjoy this type of video, we actually have a whole playlist of previous ones we've done of games that we've gotten rid of. Some of those had a bunch of games outgoing. Sometimes they build up a little more. We just, suddenly realize things about our collection. And if you want to check out any of the games we talked about here, especially this batch had some ones that we actually recommend and think are quite good, you can check those out in the description below. Otherwise, there's another video here, and we will see you in the next one.